From Suburban Lanes in Buffalo, New York, USA Sports presents the Professional Bowlers Tour. And tonight, it's the $110,000 Buffalo Open. And these are the 5 finalists. In 5th place is veteran George Pappas, who has 1 title already this year. From the 5th position, his 2nd will be tough. The 4th place finisher, Bob Chamberlain, is from Pontiac, Michigan. His only PBA title was a come-from-behind victory. He'll have to do it again for number 2. Qualifying 3rd is Ron Bell, who has returned to the PBA Tour after a 7-year hiatus. The comeback would be complete with a title tonight. In 2nd place is Mark Roth, who is approaching the $1 million mark in career earnings. His history of big wins speaks for itself. And the man they'll be shooting at, this week's leader, Brian Voss, a winner 2 weeks ago in Houston. He is predicting another title tonight. The $110,000 Buffalo Open on USA is brought to you in part by the Stroh Brewing Company, family brewed quality for over 200 years. And by Mobil Super Unleaded Gasoline. Mobil Super Unleaded, it's really powerful. And by Levi's, jeans, cords, and shirts for quality and style you can count on. And good evening, everybody, and welcome to Buffalo and this edition of the PBA Tour. I'm Al Trautwig along with Mike Durbin. We are just outside of Buffalo in Amherst, New York. And your first question might be, wait a minute, why aren't these guys in Cheektowaga where they usually are? Well, over the winter, Thruway Lanes had the roof cave in because of snow. And we have found a very comfortable home at Suburban Lanes here and at Suburban Amherst. And Mike, the conditions are similar or very different than the bowlers have come to expect here?
Well, they're similar to what they have been over at Thruway Lanes. This is a 2-sided house, has 52 lanes, and it's basically an inside house. In other words, the bowlers will be playing probably close to the 3rd arrow, and if they hook it a little bit more, closer to the 4th arrow. The pin carry is tough. We didn't have a 300 game all week long. I expect the scores to be moderate. You know, the bowler that can stay clean, strike out in the 10th frame is probably the one that's going to win today. A little more on the 5 bowlers that we will be seeing tonight. We'll begin with an old veteran, silky smooth George Pappas, who, as he says, grinds them out. George does grind him out. He has a way of saying that he's only bowled well 3 times this year. He bowled very well at the Las Vegas tournament. He bowled well at the Tournament of Champions and at the ABC Masters. He won in Vegas. He's made over $70,000 this year. A win this year would keep his hopes for, or win this week would keep his hopes for Bowler of the Year still alive. Now, our next bowler, Mike, Bob Chamberlain, is a testament to any old bowler out there who thinks he's too old to join the tour. Bob waited a long time to come out here. Well, he waited actually until age 35 before he decided taking on the tour full time. This is his first full year on the PBA Tour. He bowled sporadic tournaments before this. He's our PBA national champion. He won in Toledo, Ohio, which was our PBA nationals. It's considered one of the jewels of the Triple Crown of bowling. He's an excellent bowler. He bowled great on that TV show. Shot well over 700. So if he gets it going today, he can shoot those big scores. That brings us to the story of Ron Bell. 7 years off the tour, suddenly he's back. He said he got tired of the $3.50 paychecks from the odd jobs that he was holding down. He may just say, what the heck, I'm enjoying being here, and just pull through it all. You never can tell. I know I went from 1972 through 1979 without winning a PBA tournament, and then suddenly I won one, and a lot of wins started following that one. So that could happen with Ron Bell. He's never won a tournament, but this could be his first right here in Suburban Lanes in Amherst, New York. Now, Mark Roth is in 2nd position. Interesting because he met Brian Voss, who was in the top spot in the last game of match play. Roth lost, and he will be bowling from 2nd position, and then he'll have to bowl 1 more game than he would if he was bowling from the top spot. He's having a great year, and he's a true candidate for Bowler of the Year. He is the leading candidate for Bowler of the Year. He's right at $99,000, and so if whatever he does today, he's going to go over the $100,000 mark. Even more important, I think, is that if he wins today, it brings him within $900 of the the magic $1 million career mark. And as he says, it's going to happen. It's only a matter of time when he reaches that mark. If he wins today, it almost puts a lock for him on Bowler of the Year. So he's really in good shape, but he's got to win 2 games to do that. At the top for $15,000, bowling 1 game, a free spirit, a very enjoyable fellow, and a hot bowler, Brian Voss. Brian Voss is a very hot bowler. He's never lost a game on television so far. He's only been on twice, and he's won both tournaments. As you said, he won 2 weeks ago in Houston. He's our only bowler this week that's under 30 years of age, so maybe youth will prevail today.
Mike, something else. There's only one more regular tour stop after this week. That'll be in Canada next week. So the bowlers want to leave themselves on a good note, I would think.
Well, some of the players, like Mark Ross, not even going to Canada. This is their last performance, and so they definitely want to leave on an upward beat, you know, and finish the year with a win. 5 of them are there, but only one can win.
Okay, welcome to Buffalo. $15,000 to the winner tonight. The PBA Tour continues on USA Sports Tonight, but first these messages coast to coast. In front of a packed house at Suburban Lanes just outside of Buffalo, George Pappas and Bob Chamberlain will get things underway. Pappas from Charlotte, North Carolina, and Bob Chamberlain from Pontiac, Michigan, nearly the same age. Pappas 37, Chamberlain 35, yet George on the right side of your screen has won more than $500,000 more than Bob Chamberlain. That is because Bob is in his first full year on the PBA Tour, and George has been a PBA member for 15 years.
And we're going to see two contrasting methods of attack here. George playing the extreme outside line as he leaves a soft 10 on the first shot, and Bob Chamberlain playing inside closer to the third arrow.
He is deliberate, Mike. Gets smooth once he gets started.
Classic delivery here. 5 steps. See the free swing. Left arm out for balance. Watch the follow through. See the lift right there. See the thumb is out of the ball at this point, and he's lifting the with the fingers. George has a type of game that you want your youngster to pattern himself or herself after. 60 feet to the 10 pin. Ooh! I said it like it was a gimme, and it wasn't. It's a good thing it wasn't 61 feet or 60 feet 6 inches.
Pappas starting off on the left lane. Here's Bob Chamberlain. He's won one PBA title, and his average this week 211.6. He's on the right lane, lane 46.
In around the third arrow. Comes in light and gets the 5 out, but it goes in front of the 7 pin. That was a popular hit this week. I left a lot of those. Watch how he holds the ball in the middle of his body, pushes it out on the second step there. Shoulder high backswing. Good balance, good follow through there.
And Bob, like many of the bowlers, has his heels almost hanging off the back of the approach.
But unlike some of them, he goes up there rather deliberately rather than rushing up as you can see a Marshall Holman do, who goes up so quickly. Makes the 7 pin.
10 for Pappas, 7 for Chamberlain, all even after one frame. It's strange, Mike, and we will be talking about it a lot for a bowler, though, to wait so long to enter the tour.
He was a star bowler with the Stroh's Brewing bowling team for a number of years, and was a star bowler in the Detroit area for a number of years before he tried the tour. And some players, you know, maybe they don't get the itch until later in life. I know I've had my best years since I was 35.
Oh boy, that one slipped away.
2-5 coming in light.
Never seemed to grab.
Just didn't get the lift on this ball that he wanted. At this point, right at the bottom of the swing here, doesn't quite get to the side of the ball, and it just, as you said, it never bit the lane. It just kept sliding. Gets the 4 pin out and leaves the 2-5, and that pin separated the 5 pin a little bit. There's a greater possibility of a chop here. Using a urethane ball at the spare with extra speed. You see how he picked up the speed at that shot to try and cut down on the chance of a hook, of a chop.
Chamberlain sweeps it away and converts on the second. George Pappas with a very temporary 2-pin lead.
George twitching that shoulder. He's been doing that for about the last year and a half to try and get comfortable, get the exact right feel that he's looking for. Right on target, right in the pocket.
Pappas splatters him in the second. You might notice that gizmo on his right forearm. George has had some tendonitis problems. Let's watch this shot, Mike.
See how perfect in line. Right up about the 3rd or 4th board right there. Not much hook. Good roll, heavy roll. And all 10 right in the pit.
The tendonitis was curable, George says, with just a couple of aspirins. That was until very recently, and now he's got that on his right forearm, and it's supposedly working for him.
He says that it's alleviated the pain, and he was getting to the point where he couldn't make a shot without having pain at the top of his backswing. A little faster this time, and almost had the 7, 8, 10 up there for a minute. It winds up with only the 10 pin. The difference between that shot and the shot before was his feet got quicker. He shortened that push away and had a run to catch up with the ball, and his body sensed it, and he just didn't get the lift on it that he did the time before.
George doing quite well. Better than $70,000 in earnings this year.
6th on career earnings for his lifetime. He's a fantastic player.
But as George tells it, just about all that money was in 3 tournaments, and he says, well, if I knew I was just going to bowl well in 3 tournaments, I would have skipped all the others.
Well, sometimes I think I should never go out of the state of Ohio.
Now back to Bob Chamberlain.
Looking for his first strike. See how he holds the ball in the middle of his body like this, and as he takes that first step, he pushes it out to the right. Not really what I recommend. Kind of steps around the ball as he lets it go. He's light the first time on the Brooklyn this time. At the end of practice, Alan, he began to lose the line on this right lane. He just began to lose this right lane. See how that swing bounced out away from his body? It was just headed in that direction right away. That's what we call a swing out. But when you get away with a mistake like that, if he can take advantage of it now.
First strike for Chamberlain. He still trails by 2 pins. Pappas spare strike spare.
Can take the lead for the first time in the match here with a double. Light again.
That never grabbed either.
Interesting, he picked a finish on that lane. He's got to make some kind of adjustment on both lanes. He really doesn't have the pocket on either one.
How's that for a perplexed look?
Yeah, it's a bad sign when you see the bowler shaking his head like that. Has the 2-pin easily.
It's still very tight. Only a 2-pin differential as Pappas will now bowl in the 4th frame. George, nicknamed the General. Outspoken, but always a pleasure.
He's earned that nickname, yes. He's a born leader. Chairman of the tournament committee right now. Before that, he was president. Before that, he was chairman of the tournament committee. So, over that same target.
He's got the right lane figured out.
He's got both lanes figured out. It's just a matter of execution and carry. See, he was slower with his feet with this shot. See that good loft? That was from the fingers lifting that ball out on the lane that time. He had the thumb clear of the thumb hole, and his fingers lifted that ball out on the lane. See those grips? The grips there and the finger holes help him to get more lift. Very popular among many of the players. He has that index finger split, and then he does all this little twitching. Try and get comfortable, get that exact perfect feel. Good loft. It's light. And a high percentage light hit carried.
First strike on the left lane for George Pappas. His lead is now a dozen pins.
The difference between this shot and the 3rd frame is the loft. He got the lift with the fingers with this ball. Now it's biting. Now watch that ball hit the 5, and the 5 goes into the 4-7. No contest.
We're at the midway point of Game 1 at the $110,000 Buffalo Open. Before it's over, someone will get $15,000. We'll be back. "700 miles from home," and our alternate tonight, Steve Wunderlich. He's saying hi to his mom in St. Louis, Missouri. Steve just missed by a couple. Finishing in 6th spot. Now Bob Chamberlain and George Pappas move along in Game 1. Standing by, bowling some practice shots off to our right is Ron Bell. An interesting story in his own right. Here's Chamberlain down by 12.
Interesting, during the course of the week, almost all the bowlers were playing in where Bob Chamberlain is playing. I didn't see a soul playing outside where George Pappas is playing today, but sometimes they're different for the TV show. Chamberlain goes high again, gets another good break, and breaks down the 310 for only the 3-pin, but he is lost on both lanes. He can't hit the pocket on either lane, and when you're bowling an opponent that's wired in on both lanes, that spells trouble.
I'm Al Trautwig along with Mike Durbin. Bob Chamberlain will be along with us near his home in Windsor, Ontario next week, just across the river from Detroit.
Has the 3-pin easily, and at this stage of the game, he's got to make some kind of drastic move. I mean, even though he's only down by 13 pins right now, he's got to move right on the left lane and deeper, as we see the difference there. 60 in the 3rd with a double up for Pappas, 77 in the 4th with a spare up for Chamberlain. The difference 13 pins. looks better. And he gets that 5 out of there. Boy, he just blew it out of there. This ball, see that lift? He goes over the top of it more than Pappas does. Bites the lane right here. Watch it get the 5. And the row took out the 7. Result is swishing strike.
Mike, it doesn't always mean anything. They only bowl a couple of games on each lane, but Bob Chamberlain has a 222 on one of these lanes during match play, and George Pappas a 208 on the other. Does that ever mean anything?
Sometimes it does, but I'm sure George did not play these lanes out where he's playing them as he strikes again in the 6th frame and takes a 23-pin lead. He probably played inside where Chamberlain is, and found today when he has an hour to practice on the lanes a better reaction outside the first arrow, and decided to go with that. George probably throws the ball straighter than any player on the show, and sometimes that outside line helps the straighter player. You can get that good carry.
George has a very honorable superstition, one of the most honorable I've ever heard. He donates his Pro-Am checks to charity every time he bowls in a tournament. I would guess that shoulder twitching is up there in the superstition category too.
Good loft. Light. See, just a little bit more speed and the ball wouldn't make it. He knew he'd hit his target. He knew he had good lift, but the speed was increased just a little bit and the ball wouldn't make it up.
Crowd applauding because George Pappas was working on a triple. Here's how he viewed it from his end.
Now he knows it's over target now, and he's down on a knee saying, come up. He wants that light hit, and it just wouldn't make it. A little show of disgust there.
He converts it easily. His lead 21 pins. And he will turn it over to Bob Chamberlain on the right lane. Bob's working on a strike.
And we're almost in the must-strike category right here. Chamberlain has been lost on this right lane, but he's still only down 21 pins. A strike here, and he cuts it to 11. One more, and it's down to 1. So it's a big turn at bat, so to speak. Tie again on the Brooklyn. Breaks down the 310 again.
Knew it immediately.
Yeah, he knew it immediately. He's just not getting the ball out to his target.
Bob Chamberlain receiving some support this evening from his wife Patty. That is her. And they have 2 children, Bobby and Lisa. I haven't seen them around, but I'm sure they're interested.
Has the 3-pin. And he's running out of frames. Staying clean. Shakes his head there. Like I said, it's a bad sign.
That is not a replay of his earlier reaction. It has stayed the same.
And we see the difference there. 138, the spare working for George. 117, spare working for Chamberlain. The difference, 21 pins, 8th frame action. The week 10, good shot.
I thought that was one of the better balls that he's thrown.
It is. It's just that deep inside line makes for the ball wanting to deflect as it hits the 1-3. He's using good speed to hold the ball in the track, and the ball just didn't quite finish enough. Cross lane at the 10-pin, has it easily, but he's in trouble. Only 2 frames to go and down 22 pins. Pappas can pretty much put it away with his turn up.
Of course, Bob wasn't alone this week in trying to figure out these lanes. For the first time this year, there wasn't one perfect game thrown, as Mike has mentioned. Pappas in the 8th, up by 22.
5 steps. Free swing. Good loft. It's light. It gets that light hit. Alan, that's what you love when you're playing that angle out there. He's looking about, we're trying to hit about board 4, and that one hit about board 3 and got back for that light strike. And when you have that kind of reaction, then you know you can do it. Now watch, this ball won't quite get over board 4. It's just a little wide of it. Goes now, and it hits that head pin. It goes to the wall and cleans out the 4, 5, 7. Classic wall shot hit. George is up 22 pins and can really put it to his opponent right here with a double.
Now, when Mike says boards, that's the boards on the lane, the actual construction of the lane. That's how precise these bowlers are with their aiming.
right there. Oh, boy, you can't throw it any better than that. George is on today.
That's his 6th strike.
Watch the loft here. See the height, the backswing, and he gets it about 3 feet over that foul line. Oh, it's just biting heavily right here. He's put Bob Chamberlain in a must-strike situation. He's got to strike out to make Pappas mark.
3rd time for Bob in the championship round this year. He's won 1 title.
High again. And one more time, 3 times in a row, he broke up the split on that lane. He got 9. He's bowling a 190, but it could be much worse if he had put a couple circles there.
The time he threw his hands up at the end as if to say, I've tried it all. It's just not going to work for me. And this game, I do believe, is sliding away to George Pappas.
Well, he's probably going to have to show up for the 10th frame, but that's about all. But Chamberlain's had a good week. He's having a good year. There's solid 9-pin. We haven't seen too many of those this week. There were a few. He's going to go away with $4,000 for 5th place, which is not a bad week's work.
No, not at all. But if you wanted to take one shot and say this was the kind of day Bob Chamberlain had, that was probably it.
Picks it up. Did a ball clean game. Had 2 strikes. 2 strikes on the field ball. He wound up with 194. He's disappointed, but on to Canada. Pappas fiddling with the thumb hole, putting a piece of tape in the finger hole, looks like, in fact. He put a piece of tape in the thumb hole just before the game started and didn't take any practice swings, just right out and boom.
Oh, well, on the last shot, Bob Chamberlain may have figured it out, but it's too little too late. He finishes with a 194. Now George Pappas working on a double. Throw it out.
Just trying to keep his stroke and his concentration. Get set for the next match against Ron Bell. He's got a nice reaction, I'll tell you. George is a perfect blend of style and power. It's a great style going up there, yet gets heavy lift, good fingers, and a medium-sized hook. Gives this one a little more room, it ain't going to make it, but gets 9 out of it. Be in the 230s with a spare, be 237. Very commendable game.
That looked like it was between the 2nd and 3rd board that time.
Yeah, he got it out a little wider. Has the 2-pin. Very nice score for George.
George Pappas, 237. Bob Chamberlain, 194. In just a moment, George Pappas will return to the approach. And waiting there to meet him and maybe beat him will be Ron Bell. We'll be back from Buffalo on USA in a moment.